Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the party, gang.
Hi, guys.
It's gonna be an experience.
Hello. Definitely is. Hi. I see some familiar faces. Ben, Julie, hello. And Lena. Hey.
Great. These are all new faces for me. So
I think since people are starting to come in, I will not slowly, but transition the music out. So we have full hearing, or we can actually hear everyone right now. And thank you so much for coming in, guys. I love that there are both new and Tara. I will give you some screen share rights later, but I'd love it if we can all get settled, get comfortable. It's super cool that we both have regular faces here, like Lena, Julie, and Ben. And I also see some new faces. I am standing in for Anna Maria today and welcoming you to this Toolbox Spotlight as she's currently in our talk. And we are joined here. Basically, the person who was going to have full run of the show is Jeremy. So give it up for. Okay. Thank you. I love that. Those snaps. We're going to have a cool session today, guys. Even for me, I'm equally excited by sort of the play that we'll have in today's session. And just as a quick round of introduction, I want to welcome Jeremy and essentially introduce him and what he is about to show us. So Jeremy is actually a liberating structures practitioner. He's done this loads of times already and helped 10 billion. He wants to help 10 billion people in order to understand and use liberating structures in everyday practices. He organizes the Think Slow Dojo, also hosts the Wise Crowd Design calls every Monday, and actually as a super design team member of the Liberating Structures Go Online user group. So if you haven't checked those communities out, I do hope you check it out after the call. I'll be linking it in the chat so you also can have full view of it after. So today he'll be taking us through the practice of liberating structures and actually doing exercises that will help us understand and see how we can unlock it in our own sessions. He's super obsessed. I mean, he can talk about it himself later, but he's also super obsessed with Web3 and DAOs, some concepts that I'm not as familiar about yet. So again, let's
DAOs,
give it
man.
up.
DAO. Let's get down on it.
DAO. Okay, I will maybe after this session. Thank you so much for joining us, Jeremy. And I'll turn the floor over to you now.
Well, gang, we're going to get right into the woods, so to speak, and start off with an exercise called Impromptu Networking. Impromptu networking is super straightforward. Anybody can do it. It is just going to be a sequence of 3 separate one-on-one conversations. So you're going to respond to the same prompt that I'm going to give you in just a moment, and you're going to talk to 3 people for 5 minutes in length regarding that prompt. Or you can talk about whatever you want. In this instance, I think it's not quite so life and death. Right? So does anybody have questions about that procedure? If there's any need for clarification there, give a beat.
I think we're all clear. If not, guys, feel free to raise your hand in the queue if you have a question.
No, my clarity is often blinding. So with that, then our prompt for today is going to be, when all is said and done, I am committed to. When all is said and done, I am committed to ... or ellipsis, if you want to get technical about it. And with that, we're going to hustle you guys into some pairs and talk amongst yourselves for the coming 5 minutes.
Hey, hopefully everyone got to discussing with 2 different people for this impromptu networking. Awesome. And now we're actually going to be moving on to the next exercise. And Jeremy, you want to take them through?
For sure. What we're going to jump into now is an exercise called Wise Crowds. Now, Wise Crowds is a give and get help function. If anybody's familiar with the structure Troika Consulting, it works a lot like that, but with a different size group. So for Wise Crowds, we're going to invite somebody to play the role of client, and they're going to share their design brief or their help request with us. We've had a couple folks shared design briefs, so we'll have to negotiate and come up with some criteria on how to decide which design brief we will handle. But then the client's going to come tell us about their design brief. Myself and how about whoever wants to play consultant can hang out with me, and we will ask some clarifying questions to the client. And then my son is playing with a very loud toy, which I hope you can't hear, but it's definitely distracting me. And so after we ask the clarifying questions, we'll ask the client to turn off their webcam and microphone. The consultant and I will basically come up with a string of liberating structures that we think might satisfy the client's design brief. And then the client will come back in. They will tell us what they think of our consultation, what they take away, what might be valuable, what they realized is totally irrelevant, and that they actually asked the entirely wrong question. This is all perfectly acceptable. And then we are going to invite everybody else who's not in the consultant seat to then split into a 1-2-4 all and critique our advice and come up with an alternative that you guys think the client would be better served doing. So basic nuts and bolts. Client shows up, gives us a design brief, clarifying questions, consultation, feedback, and then you guys red team for us. So who on the call sent us those design briefs?
Actually seem to be four people who registered as clients. So Apostolis, Deborah, Mariette, Nadim, and also Mayor. Also, yeah, all good. All still good with everyone who suggested or who wanted to be client.
Yeah, how about for this, we turn this into a bit of a fishbowl. So if you're not going to be a client or a consultant, turn off your webcam. That might make things a bit clearer. Awesome. So clients, do we have a client? Do we actually have a design brief? Wouldn't that be funny?
Let me just remember the people on Spotlight.
Awesome.
One.
So how many clients? Raise your hand. All right. Nadim has a design brief for us. And anybody else? Going once, going twice. Nadim, you are our lucky player of the day. So
Right.
why don't you tell us about your design brief?
Let me pull that up. Can I do that?
And Philip, you better get your ass back in here. You are definitely consulting with me.
Let me just check. Sorry, I'm still on my iPad.
No, that's all right. Just tell us your story, man.
I will. But since I put it into a concise email, not very concise. All right, cool. Yeah. So I'm looking at convening and facilitating a bit of a kickoff meeting for a collective. I'm trying to put together a collective. The motto is curiosity that matters. And basically, the intent is to bring together multidisciplinary individuals who are curious about ways to create positive systems change and committed to well-informed and practical positive social environmental impact. And I basically put out an invite to a lot of these people. most of them are in my network. Consider them friends of mine. And the call was very loose. It's pretty much a call for curiosity that matters, or co-creating a vehicle through which we can put to good use our collective curiosity and make it matter. That's the gist of it. So I'll repeat that. It's basically, I said, hey, curiosity that matters, and I would like to co-create a vehicle through which we can put our collective curiosity to good use and make it matter. That's what I said. So some people said I'm interested. Most of them are local where I am, and some are remote. And now is the idea of like, right, how the hell do I kick that off? How do I bring them together? What are we supposed to talk about? How do we start shaping basically this collective? And this is about, we're starting off with a blank sheet of paper. So anywhere from co-designing what is, what do we mean by curiosity that matters? What matters? These types of questions I have in mind. So what would be really cool out of this is trying to figure out how to manage this first kickoff workshop and how to facilitate, let's say, 2-3 hour workshop or series of workshops. Helps us start setting up this this collective. I'll pause it here for a second, I guess, and see if people have any questions or if that's enough.
Awesome.
Mayor had a question.
Jump right in.
Okay, so
Clarification.
So you're
Right.
saying you wanna create a community around curiosity that matters, and you have spread the invites around your network, and you're expecting these people to come, and you want to create an event to bring these people together and facilitate so that they can create projects and collaborate around these projects to create their own thing. So you're just trying to nourish this environment, right?
Not necessarily from a community perspective. It's think about it as a collective setup of, let's say, consultancy or studio, right? So we're just a bunch of freelancers that would want to work on projects together. So not necessarily always each have their own project. Yeah.
Okay, so within your network, my question for you would be, within your network, when you are spreading these invites, sharing these invites, have you thought of what kind of skills you were expecting from these people?
Not necessarily. I have a quote in the invite, actually, that says, it's from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, which says, when you want to build a ship, it's not about, who's the carpenter, who's the whatever. It's about people who just want to enjoy the journey together. So I didn't look at skills. I'm just looking at people who share similar values and are actually intrigued by the topic of curiosity that matters.
Mm-hmm. When you said sharing similar values, what would be the values that you want to bring in people together?
I guess curiosity would be the first one, right? Transparency, openness, collaboration, and the willingness to, let's say, to turn energy or anything we're doing, any outcome, into something useful for the society around us.
Mm-hmm. And are you are you open to any and all of the subjects that might come up? Or are you willing to direct people in a certain direction?
I shared my mind map of topics that I'm interested in, and I invited others to do the same. Oh,
okay. Okay, so that is the initiation where you shared what you're interested in, and you're expecting from people to bring what they're interested in. So this initial, would you say this initial facilitation needs to be around first collecting what people are interested in?
That was what I was not sure, to be honest. This is so at a level when you're, having such an open or loose invitation, how far do you go in influencing people? And do you want to start with like identifying, maybe a series of topics, or do you even want to identify? So I've had some ideas where I started doing some of that. Example, can we all imagine what is that vehicle? So as I said in the beginning, like this vehicle through which we would explore our curiosity and make it useful to others. Can we just think, what would be that vehicle? What would be this collective, right? Is it a book club? Is it an actual consulting studio? Is it a filmmaking and documentary, like, what are these vehicles through which we can do that? So it's also not only about the curiosity, but about the channel, the medium, the vehicle. So these are questions that I have in mind, and I haven't set necessarily with which to start. And
I got a blank sheet of paper. It sounds
exactly. And I hope that the group would decide what we would work with.
I do have a question about how many participants we're expecting to join this event.
Anywhere between 6 and 12.
6 and 12. And you said 2 or 3 hours is an initial set. And Cheska, I noticed, could you share the screen on the doc for the design brief on page, like, I don't know, like 20 or something? You're gonna have to find my cursor. Actually, let's do this the way easier route, which is I'm just gonna give you guys the link to the doc, and you can jump in and follow along should you so desire. Any additional clarifying questions, consultants? This is your last chance for romance.
I have 2 more questions.
Oh, one more.
One more.
Sorry, your name is? I'm trying to read, like, because I'm on the iPad. It's a bit.
It's Meir.
Meir. Okay, Meir. Yeah.
Okay, then I would ask, have you ever had a chance to create a similar community before, and what were your experiences?
I'm going to cut question to that is not a clarifying question for this brief. Like this is a question that's very close to coaching and leading the witness. That I don't think that helps us clarify our design brief. And I feel like we've got enough information.
No, I've got one more. One more, and the one is the people that you contacted. Do they know each other?
Some of them they do, yes.
And some of them don't.
Some of them don't.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome, excellent catch, Philip.
And I can tell you one very short thing as well. I've had responses of people saying, like, I don't understand what is exactly expected of me and what is supposed to be my role here. And it was a bit of a selection mechanism of, like, if you're expecting something too specific, then probably this is not the right time for this.
Word. All right. Well, with that being said, I will ask you, dear client, to turn off your webcam and microphone. And consultants, I would ask you to respond to 2 things. So what structures come to your mind that might be helpful to address this design brief, and in what order might we put them in? And I noticed the presentation is getting on my nerves, so I'm gonna fucking close it. So yeah, what structures come to mind in response to this design brief, and how might we string those together? And it would be really helpful if instead of sort of get caught in the jargon of structures, if you briefly unpack in 30 seconds or approximately how that structure works for anybody who is unfamiliar with it on the call.
Well, I would start with the structure. I would start with first of all, actually bringing these people live together to get the ideas and map them, and sharing those maps with everyone, so that creates a platform where they would add their ideas and thoughts in a collaborative document or whatever, and initiate from there. Like, see who is really interested, who is really vibing. So around the ideas is what needs to be done here, it seems. So from there on, I would decide on which platform to move on with, because I don't know yet how those people are reacting to ideas and what kind of commitment they're willing to make. So 2 things, ideas and commitment. And the steps would be an event for ideas and then a shared document for commitment.
And so there's a liberating structure that might be really appropriate for that, that's in development. It's called mind meld, which sounds exactly like you would think it. It basically consists of integrating different mind maps. So that is something that you could do asynchronously, or you could do on site or virtually, in real time together as well, to sort of explore that opportunity space. So anybody else, what structures come to your mind to address the client design brief, and how might we string them together?
Okay, another one is purpose to practice. It seems that it could be, it's interesting that you spoke about mind melt, or a structure that I don't know, basically. But the idea, once you get everything sort of together, a very good way to organize it is with this liberating structure that has 5 moments, let's say. One is to define the purpose. The other one is to define a bunch of principles that are going to guide the group. Who is going to be in and who is going to be out, but the idea of participants, because the group might eventually grow. So have an idea of what kind of people that you want to be with doing this project. Then structure, and then practices. So it lets you go from a wide, very general statement of purpose to things that you can actually decide to do. In fact, the practical things you want to do. So you might enjoy doing P2P as a structure.
Awesome. And it looks like we've got some sage wisdom going down in the chat as well. Mariette, break it down. Can you unpack these things for us?
Yeah, I would start with some liberating structure that can build trust within the group, just as a starter, and then heard, seen, respected is one of them. I guess it fits the community that Nadim created or wants to create. And as a second, I would start with the 9 whys, because there is not yet any common goal. And this can help to create a common goal in that community, or to decide whether there is no common goal at all, or maybe there are sub-communities. So that would be my first shot. I haven't thought about the rest yet, depending on the outcomes of the first and second liberating structure, I think.
Yeah, those are great. So heard, seen, respected is a structure that invites people to jump into pairs and spend exquisite attention on each other, responding to a prompt around to tell a story when you did not feel heard, seen, and respected. So it definitely opens up a real vulnerability space, and that does build a whole shit ton of trust super duper fast. And 9 whys is almost exactly like it sounds. In pairs, once more, you would respond to perhaps your I do mean 100, I think, Isaiah. Off camera, but still showing up on film. So 9 whys asks folks to respond to what makes the things that they're interested in important or meaningful, what gives it significance to them. And you would just continue that inquiry of why. Another one that I might add in that's really good to build trust and also help sketch out a sort of potential destination could be something along the lines of appreciative interviews. Once more, this invites people into pairs and asks them to tell a story when they were part of a collective in this example that had that was extraordinarily curious, and tell the story about how it went, to generate some good vibes and get a feel for what the space you want to move in that direction is. So that really lines up with that quote from Alain as well. So I think that puts us about at time. So is there anybody else who has another structure that hasn't been mentioned that they'd like to shout out for our consultation?
Well, because I see that the structures are basically two people talking. So maybe at one point you want to open the discussion for everyone to sort of make sense together. And I think a nice one could be Conversation Cafe. It's another liberating structure.
Maybe.
Yeah, great. And the Conversation Cafe would just put people into a little bit larger groups between 4 and 6 usually. 3,
Yeah.
4, 5, 6. 7's a little sketchy for this one. And then ask them to go around the circle once, sort of responding to the initial prompt or invitation, around the circle twice to responding to each other's input, open up some space for a sort of unstructured group discussion, and then go around the circle one more time to sort of share final thoughts. So really good for one for cross-pollination. So if this is our laundry list of structures, the way I might string them together could be starting off with either heard, seen, respected, or appreciative interviews. I love the idea of going into 9 whys, and that's a really great fit because that's a great start for purpose to practice as well. And the mind meld I notice is very, very strong. So starting off with appreciative interviews or heard, seen, respected, I would then go into 9 whys and ask and do the inquiry for, or no, pardon me. Wow. So this is what I look like when I get flustered. So heard, seen, respected / appreciative interviews, the mind meld to compare the interest space, and then on the basis of the mind meld, then I'd go into 9 whys. I think a conversation cafe would be a great place to sort of stick the landing to get a feel for in what direction we're going to go from there, and that might be a good solid first outing to kind of get a feel for what are we interested in, what direction do we want to go, are we all friends, and why does that stuff matter, and in that why does that stuff matter, that's a great list to mine for your principles as well. The things that you come up with is significant. So one more time, let's try this in a clean take, right? Heard, seen, respected / appreciative interviews, mind meld, into 9 whys, closed out with a conversation cafe. Final answer. So consultant or client, please come back in, tell us what you think about our consultation, and we'll move on.
Do you guys see me? Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks so much for that. What I was missing, because I really like this idea of the purpose to practice, you left it out in your last answer. I'm wondering whether it just means that it's maybe worth like another meeting or building up to something like that, and why it would be left out of the first meeting. I think this, specifically for people who don't know each other as well, this heard, seen, respected, and a mix of or appreciative interviews could be very interesting to establish this level of trust at the beginning. So really cool. And I would be very curious to put this into practice, to do from the mind meld to the 9 whys, because I think one could get stuck of like being discussing the specific topics of the mind maps of others, like, oh, this is interesting and I don't know what, but having a general why and digging deeper into like, why are these things interesting for you, or why did you choose this coalition, or whatever that is, would be, now that I think about it, can be very telling in terms of how that group can go further. So yeah, these were my thoughts. And so first of all, thanks so much for all of the input. I had one question in mind as well, and Jeremy, in case this is like too much, please let me know. But I'll just put it out there. How would one reconcile the idea of being the convener while at the same time keeping the space quite loose, right, and not managing, right, or not imposing, let's say, my own mind map?
Yeah. So I have experience in this. I literally just hosted an initiative similar to this, totally different program, by the way, 2 weeks ago. And what I can tell you is actually you're not serving anyone by holding the space open. Yeah, you're actually going to do everyone a much greater service if you can dare to point at a direction that gives everybody some focal point to move in. And I know for me that's like right, because who am I? I'm just a person. But I mean, you are the source of this initiative, so you do have a responsibility to help give folks some amount of clarity about this is the direction or the intention that I have in this invitation. And there's lots of room, but it's not going to be north, it's going to be west, for example.
Yeah. I was told like to think of it as a steward and basically steward people towards the direction, but also if they want to then shift it, be open instead of like starting completely directionless.
Yeah,
so
totally.
thanks for
Plus
that.
5. So
Thank you.
now
Thanks so much, everyone.
everybody else, you are invited to into a 1-2-4 all. Our invitation is going to be, what do you think might not work, or how else would you go about it? So what do you think might not work so well, and how else might you go about such a session in response to Nadim's design brief? First, we're going to take 60 seconds for you to just gather your thoughts. And then we're going to pair up. You'll have 4 minutes in pairs, and then you'll have 10 minutes in groups of 4 before we come in here. And you guys, red team, tell us your brilliant design or something along those lines. I'll shut up. 1 minute on the clock. So the clients and consultants will stay in this session, and everybody else will get paired up to trade notes on what they think might not work so great and what they might do as an alternative to this game plan that we put together. Welcome back, everyone, after that not at all confusing 1-2-4 all, right? It was just went how it goes, right? So it's my first time on hosting stuff on Butter, so it can be my fault. It's totally cool. So I'm curious, though, you guys had a lot of time to mixed up in different constellations. What were some of the more interesting either add-ons or alternatives that you guys came up with to deal with this design brief?
Well, initially, what we first thought was Nadim had a question, purpose to practice. We thought it needs to be in a further event, not on the first event, because we first need to align people and get people to create ideas and see commitment if they're going to take action or not. And for the first event, the flow, if we don't start with a common goal, like creating a common goal, any ideation around the mind meld might, diverge people in a huge mess. So maybe bringing in the 9 whys, but then Philip suggested like it may be a mind fuck for people asking 9 times why. So he suggested another flow, where another structure. I think it was called 9-word purpose, so that we start with the appreciative inquiry to build a bit of warmth around people, and then bring the 9-word purpose so people have a common goal, and then move into heard, seen, respected to create the trust around that goal, and then move into the mind melt so that we ideate around that goal ending it with a conversation cafe.
Awesome. Anybody else have a different take they wanted to share?
I think that Philip is getting ready to say something. Philip, right? I see you're ready to action. Wait, 1 second. You're on mute. Now we hear you.
Yeah. So, so suggestion was since the people do not know each other very well, or not everybody knows each other very well, to spend a good fair amount of time in getting to know each other, in a sort of a very light manner. So you can use impromptu networking with like interesting, funny prompts, like this, just to take the time to just have the people, how do you say, happy to be there and happy to meeting people, and getting a sense of relationships first, instead of immediately going into something that would be to the point, to stay a little bit in the fuzziness of meeting, and then to avoid seen and respected as a trust mechanism, because it starts with people not knowing each other, telling each other stories where they were unheard, unrespected, and unseen, which is a sort of a negative things to start with. I mean, I don't know if I want to talk about that to somebody that I don't know immediately. But I might be very interested in having some kind of fun around some interesting prompts around impromptu networking, for example. So this would be another way to look at how to get everybody on the bandwagon, or to get everybody into the mood of then getting to the purpose and getting to things.
Great, thanks for sharing, and sorry for putting you on the spot. It's a hidden talent of mine, and I don't keep very hidden. But thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and Mad Tea Party may be a good place, good alternative as well, right? Using prompts from Mad Tea Party. So Mad Tea Party, just like the Mind Meld, you won't find on the main list on the Liberating Structures website, because those are liberating structures in development. I think on the right-hand side of the banner across the top of the page, or if you just Google Mind Meld or Mad Tea Party, you'll find the Google Docs that have the instructions for these alternatives or these liberating structures in development. So I would like to thank you guys for your time, attention, and energy, and for chipping in on this interesting advice that we have offered for Nadim. Nadim, I would be super duper curious to follow up with you after your session to hear your story about what you did, and of course, how did it actually go, right?
I do have your email, so I will definitely follow up. Thank you so much to all of you for these ideas, and for, I don't know, just getting me to think of a few assumptions I guess I had, and how to think through this. Super cool discussion. And thank you, Butter, for the space.
I want to thank Mosin for covering up for me. I want to obviously thank Jeremy. I had to just, I joined you just like 10 minutes ago, so I missed all the fun. Thank you, Jeremy, so much. It sounds like an interesting session, fun session. Luckily, it was recorded, so I'm going to catch up with the recording. And because I've missed this fun, I'm going to ask you one last question as a checkout. What is what method, tool, or structure? Something you've learned today that you heard it for the first time? Maybe someone said something that sparked an idea. Leave me with the creme de la creme of this session, please, because I missed it. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts and insights. All right, I see some 9Ys. Yes, Sarah. Mind milks. Okay, creme de la creme. Thank you, Philip. Heard, seen, respected. One of my faves, liberating from structure by shuffling the groups constantly, whether you want to or not. Right, Mayor? Hey, I love your sense of humor. All right. The structure for liberating structures that was shared. Beautiful. Keep them coming. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone's time here. Thank you, Mosing, for coming up. Thanks, Jeremy. Much love for you, and hope to see you guys in one of our next community events. Take care, and see you around virtually, hopefully very soon.
Mondays, we host this design call on almost every Monday. A Change Hackers meetup group. So if you want to throw a design brief at us, or to come design some strings for some other folks, come hang out with us. It's a good time.
Well, if you have a link for that, pop it in the chat, Jeremy, if you can grab it real fast, so then we know where to find you.
For sure.
Exactly. Great minds think alike, Lina, right?
Thank you very much for hosting, Jeremy and Anna Maria. Bye.
Thank you for joining. Hope to see you soon, Philip. See you soon.
Bye.